and I saw Caleb at the altar. I just pictured doves and butterflies.
Guys, the truth is finally coming out about Tammy's new husband, Caleb. There are so many secrets coming out about him that are absolutely ridiculous. From stalking, proposing after a few weeks, and so much more. You guys are not going to believe this. So first, we need to start with the wedding. Now, obviously, this wedding was strange from the start. They were engaged after like 3 weeks and then married about 2 weeks later, and Tammy's family didn't even meet him until the day before the wedding. But when you look at his social media, it's clear that there's so much more to this guy than what meets the eye on the show. And I looked into some of his social media profiles to try and see what I could figure out about the guy, and it just really shocked me. So first of all, he seems to be exactly like Tammy. Well, exactly like Tammy before the weight loss. And I think we all remember what Tammy was like back then. She was constantly making excuses for herself about why she couldn't lose the weight, but that she would lose the weight eventually, and this is exactly what Caleb is like on social media. And then you have the rehab part of it all, and Caleb alarmed everyone when he said that he followed Tammy to rehab, but did you know that he actually was in another rehab center before he went to Tammy's? And I just cannot get over this. So Caleb was actually sick, and like, when he got to Tammy's rehab, he was so sick that he couldn't leave his room for months, but everyone has failed to mention that he was actually in a completely different rehab before, and he was transferred to Tammy's rehab center to get closer to her. So even though he was so sick that he almost lost his life, he was more worried about transferring rehabs and getting closer to Tammy rather than just staying in his own rehab and getting better. I mean, I just cannot believe that. And then, it's like he's clearly prioritized meeting Tammy over his own life. And I'm sure that Tammy thinks that is really cute, but does anyone kind of find it a little bit alarming? I mean, doesn't it seem like he was more worried about meeting her and using her for whether it be maybe fame or money than actually getting healthy? And I mean, obviously, this is just a theory that he was using her for fame or money, but if I were in his position and I was worried that I was going to lose my life because I was so sick, the last thing on my mind would be that I needed to transfer rehabs to meet a woman from a reality show. I mean, I'd be much more focused on staying in my own rehab and getting healthy. So the fact that that's what was on his mind is just so weird to me. But back to their engagement, because we obviously didn't know this, when the news of their engagement first broke, but it turns out that Caleb proposed after only 3 weeks of dating, and that definitely makes me question what his intentions actually are. But let's be real, you don't really know a person after just 3 weeks of dating, especially knowing that he transferred rehabs just to meet her. So even if you think that Caleb proposed with the purest of intentions, which he may have, it still feels way too fast and sudden. And Chris, who is kind of one of the more level-headed guys on the show, even brought this up because he made it clear that he wasn't happy with not really knowing Caleb. And I mean, the whole family even thought that maybe they were getting married because Tammy was pregnant, which I'm sure I'm not the only one who found that theory to be extremely strange. But either way, I can't blame Chris for feeling protective of Tammy or for questioning Caleb. He does seem like a pretty good guy overall, especially compared to Tammy's previous boyfriends. He definitely says that he wants to get better and help Tammy get better too, but like Chris pointed out, he could just be saying those things, and actions do speak louder than words, and I completely understand why Chris was worried about Caleb dragging Tammy down, and there's always the danger that Caleb could hold her back or even make her worse again. And Tammy is obviously out of rehab at this point, but Caleb is still there, so we believe, and he still has a long way to go, and I just hope that he's serious about getting healthier. I mean, from what we know, he went to Ohio because of Tammy, so I'm not really confident that he'll be able to keep up with the program now that she's no longer there. But even if he is, there's the other thing that Chris brought up. He rightly said that right now Caleb can't really get a job, and it's just not physically possible for him, so he can't really take care of the bills or anything like that. And we've also heard that the plan is for him to move in with Tammy once he gets out of rehab, and I've seen many people online point out this all just kind of seems like user behavior, and I hope that that's not the case at all, and I hope that we're all just wrong about this, but I just can't help but be suspicious of Caleb after what we found out about him. And I guess it's good that he's at least open about how he looked to Tammy up on social media and all that stuff. I mean, he called what he did research, which is definitely one way to put it, but I do feel like he really wanted to get Tammy, no matter what, and he might not have been as transparent about about all this as he has been, because a real stalker would probably try to hide doing things like that. So maybe his intentions were pure, and he really just did find Tammy so inspiring that he wanted to join her in Ohio. But then again, with how quick their engagement was, I still feel like something is just kind of off, and I just hope that he actually loves Tammy as a person and that he isn't with her because he idolizes her as a TV personality or because he just wants to be on TV himself. I mean, some people also pointed out that it is kind of concerning how unbothered Tammy seems to be about all this, and she said that his behavior was a little stalker-ish, but she wasn't mad at him for that, and she seemed excited when she thought he flirted with her, and plus she even said that she'd never felt this way before, and I do kind of get why people might be worried about her because of this, and she really seems to be head over heels for the guy, which probably makes her much more susceptible to manipulation. And that's another thing about Caleb, because people on Reddit have pointed out that he does come across as controlling and manipulative, and one person even wrote that he seemed like the kind of guy who would try to isolate her, and another person also said that he pretty much, love bombed Tammy, and love bombing supposedly is a kind of a dangerous manipulation technique that people sometimes use, and it can often, be a sign of an unhealthy relationship. And obviously we don't know if this is what Caleb was trying to do. I genuinely hope that people are wrong about him and that he will prove to us all that he's a good guy that we all thought he was at first. And sources close to Tammy have said that they were really happy for them and that Caleb has been a huge support for Tammy and she has for him too. And plus, if you look at his social media, it does seem like he might be a pretty good guy. He definitely seems to be pretty family oriented, and he's dedicated a couple posts to his brother and to his dad, and I guess we probably should just give him the benefit of the doubt for now. If he says that he only wants to be the best for Tammy, then maybe he means it, and there's obviously still the danger that he might not actually be able to take care of her, because right now she's in a much better place, at least physically, than he is, so it seems more likely that she might end up having to take care of him. But hopefully, even if that does end up happening, it will only be temporary. And if Caleb genuinely loves Tammy and wants, them both to be happy and healthy, then I'm ready to support their relationship, although I still kind of think that the way he moved to the Ohio rehab just to be close to her was pretty strange. But what do you guys think about all this? I mean, do you think that Caleb is a good man for Tammy, or do you think he's just a creep who's using her for her fame and money? And also, are you on Chris's side in all this, or do you believe that he genuinely means well? And what are your thoughts of them getting engaged just after 3 weeks of dating? I mean, do you think it was way too fast too? Because honestly, this whole relationship just seems super crazy to me, and I would love to hear what you guys think. So please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below.